There's a 10 or more point difference in the scoring, with the high score being Grant and the low score being Lois. Grant, if you please can start the debate as to why Lois and possibly Matthew should raise their score.
Well, I thought the two things I think are, there are many things that strike me about the work. I thought the still life work was at a very sophisticated level. Lighting-wise, understanding the product, understanding product needs to heighten its effect and what it needs to be. That being said, I also think the technical abilities on the lighting and are extremely well controlled in terms of understanding the process and how to bring character and texture out of places. So I thought this is a very advanced level of work. I would only say, if there's some weak points, I would say that the portraiture is very, very solid in that area. In fact, it's excellent in that area. But I don't see that his voice has yet totally come true in a lot of images. Like on some of the images they have and some they haven't. And I can see this artist is capable of having a really, really strong voice in all of these areas. So that would be my downside. But I still like this great eye.
All right, well, there's a lot I really like about the portfolio. The two portraits on the upper left, I think, are gorgeous use of light and mood and atmosphere. And I find on the left, the architecture shot is, you know, a fascinating combination of old architecture, new architecture. And looking at the product shots on that side, I'm seeing a lot of interesting experimentations. I don't know how to judge the quality of lighting on still life. So, and I decided I asked myself, which is he or she more leaning towards? And I thought the portraiture, and I thought that there could be improvement. I mean, this person still got a good score, but I thought what may have made me score lower than Grant was improvement needed in the portrait section. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Panelists, please rescore. Jeff Ham. Jeff, portfolio accepted.
I'm always, when someone hits a high note, which I think you did on this image here, just a very sophisticated use of the color, background. And actually, we've seen this assignment, as you know, many, many times. And this is really the highest level of accomplishment in this assignment. I think it's the best assignment we've seen.
I agree with that one.
Just exceptional. And I think the client would love this.
What makes it different? What's the difference?
Well, I guess what the difference is it is a wallpaper assignment. You know, essentially, I'm not sure what the exact specs of it, but it seems like what it is it's kind of this wallpaper aesthetic. It's kind of on one thing with the object in front of it. And what he seems to have done differently is he involved some depth in the image, which actually makes it a lot more successful to look at. And I think the leaf as a backdrop and the cove of the leaf and how you handle that is just beautiful. I mean, I think that's a wonderful way to illustrate these kind of products. And depending on the brand and what their market placement is, I think both of these have that kind of character. And I like this kind of movement in the sweep. I think this is just beautiful. and the quality of light both in and on the product. So I think there's a very sophisticated, really successful use of the background in the product. And it's just really good. And then in further keeping with your still life, which I'll start with, I think when you get to images like this, you light it extremely well. I mean, what I noticed about your work is the tactfulness of everything. You like a very tactile experience in photography, which I always think is a great thing to look at. I enjoy the hyper texture of things that can be lit that way. You know? But I think that's just beautiful in your sense of arrangement. I mean, it's a very classic form of arrangement, but it's beautifully done. It's all considered well. I thought this was a little bit of a weaker image because conceptually it just didn't have a lot of beauty going for itself in terms of the idea may be stronger than the element itself as an idea. So it didn't give that a lot of mileage. This I thought, again, your sense of texture, and of course I've commented on a lot of flat lighting or metal lighting in realist place, and they often don't work. But if one was shooting a catalog or tool catalog and they wanted to do wood and high gloss metals and stuff like that, what you've really done here, which is not so easily done that we've seen in the other work, is that this wood is very comfortable in this environment. It's just kind of as slickly handled as the blade and all the surfaces. And you've made a very conscious effort to light these edges so that they don't disappear. I mean, this is exactly what a client would want. They wouldn't want these things to get lost because they were going to sell them. So trigger something, but it's really well considered. And it's a beautiful juxtaposition of subject. Was that shot as a strip or is that a location?
It was on location with a boom.
You took a boom. Yeah, it's beautifully done. Very nice. Very nice. I mean, this kind of work is in demand for that kind of thing. Your cheese shot, which is very formal, has a beautiful sense of light. It's backlit a little bit. When you get formal in these kind of things, they can get a little bit dry. But I think this one, came off pretty well. So I have to give you kudos on that. It's not. And then of course your flame filament. It's beautiful. Beautiful quality. Well, I mean the light. This kind of lighting we've seen it done. The edge lighting a lot, but often people are choosing a little bit harder version of it, and I think it has a tendency to be too much edge, too bright on the edge, and it doesn't let the inside kind of breathe. And in this case, I think your kind of more grayer edge allows for a much more interesting, softer image to look at. So it's quite successful. So I love that. And then with your finale here, which was a good finale. I mean, really festive and fun. Relationship to the product, I can't speak for it, so I don't know their complete brand, but I have to say for just sheer fun and idea, it's really great. It's really great when you it's a portrait. And then I'll let someone else chime in on some other stuff, but I thought you did a really, really great job of showing your control.
I would have liked to see the liquid more around the beer thing. I love the design of it, and I even enjoyed the symmetry, which I usually don't. And it's very arresting and metaphorical, and you can kind of start imagining things in it. But I thought if you could make it more three-dimensional by bringing it around.
The beer meaning?
No, the liquid.
The blue ink or whatever.
The blue ink that I guess you put in later, then. I don't know, I just thought it.
Oh, you might maybe see it in front of the bottle.
Yeah, as well, that it's kind of wrapping around. But I love it for what it is. Make a nice tattoo, I think, too.
Someone else want to go ahead?
With the portraits, when I saw the first portrait, I loved this first portrait. That first image of it was so powerful. It looks like a movie poster, actually. The quality of the light, the sky, everything about the shot is just so beautiful. Then going into the other portraits, they didn't have the same feel of quality as that first one. And then when I saw the still life, I was like, okay, this person loves still life, and because they're done so well. Just as Grant was saying, they're done so well. But I felt that the portraits weren't quite as strong. They seemed that they felt, well, maybe with the exception of this image and this one, I seem to like those two. I want to take those two out for the moment. The rest were just okay. And nothing's wrong with that as well. I mean, if you want to go into the still life arena, I think that's definitely a strong suit. It shows your strength for sure. There's nothing wrong with these shots. There's some things that could be a lot better. For sure, the picture of the little girl bothers me a little bit. Her expression seems...
It's too forced.
Yeah, very forced.
As they say, she's not smiling with her eyes.
Yeah, she's stuck in a pose that she's trained to give.
And serious
not
would be
comfortable.
fine. Like serious would just be fine.
Yeah. But again, I'm not mad at that at all. I think that the still life is so amazing and so beautiful, and if that's what you want to do, then you're well on your way.
Comment on the portraits just a little bit. One of the things, I mean, I had a breakout point on the portraits where I looked at this grouping here. I looked at this as one set of imagery, which I thought was on the A level for me. I thought these portraits really received a very high degree of process, technique, expression, gesture, lighting, attitude, everything. I thought they were beautiful everywhere. I'll go through them a little bit. This was wonderful because you've got this kind of expression that he's kind of in reflection, and and certainly the background gives that is enhancing that whole experience.
It's like that Twilight feeling.
Perfect.
Twilight
perfect.
poster feeling.
Yeah. And then here you have this unusual setup here, and you've lit this around him, and his gesture is perfect for this environment. The sense of color and tone, I thought, was really well handled here. And I love the low angle of this one. I love her character here, and the kind of casualness of the situation. Again, her casualness of her pose, all kind of in perfect synchronicity of that. This, I thought, was a wonderful kind of playful gesture. You know, animated and a little bit contrived, but fun. It's cute. I thought this was a really austere, beautiful sense of the skin, the way you handle that as a color, the way you have these trees converging. I thought it was beautifully done. And actually, you know, that's an enticing picture of a boxer. You could use that as a poster for a next boxing match. It would be kind of frightening at the same time. It's a nice use of the red and the blue together. And I think the way you added, I mean, so often it would be easy not to have this highlight, but you went over and forced the highlight in there, so you added another sense of contrast. So in keeping with those, which I see as a breakout set of portraits, the downside on the portraits is that when you get traditional, you haven't figured out how to make them your own. And this is where I felt was the weak part of the book here. And because I think you see them somewhat as cliches, and you can't get yourself out of the cliche. And that's difficult. I mean, I don't envy that position, because you're starting out with a certain kind of dress, and how do you do it? But you did do it. What you did is you really matched the backgrounds and the personality and gesture to come together. Here you're almost going out for a formatted type look, and I think you're fighting whether it's going to be anything. And I don't think you lack your sense of ability to control the situation. I'm not sure you understand how to make that grouping as artistic as the other ones yet. And I can't offer a solution other than the fact that I would see, you know, working in this area to push this another notch, because this wouldn't be assignment work, this would be for the consumer. The only thing I had is a technical comment on these, and this is only for that field, and we just jump out of it, is this one here. I thought, and we can't see it on the screen, but I thought on the print, whenever you do this kind of work, let me see if I can load up. I mean, the skin is, he has beautiful skin. And she does have quite good skin as well. But I thought maybe the skin should be played down a little bit in sharpness. Do you ever do a thing where you just kind of localize the eyes, and just not quite over sharpen the skin as much? Do you do that very often?
I smooth the skin a lot.
You do smooth it, yes. Yeah.
Big thing I do about like pencilings.
Yeah, you do. Okay, yeah. Because my feeling was that this may be a little bit hard for the client to accept that kind of texture on the skin. Even though they have beautiful skin, it just may be more than as a to the consumer. And but again, you've got control of all your elements. I'm not sure you've figured out how to make this your own image yet, and that's where I thought with the weak side of the work.
I love the kid's gesture in that.
Yeah,
I think that's so fun.
He's got to get with all that.
I think it's the white shirt that's throwing off the composition, especially on the kid, because it's like stiff and starched and folded. Maybe the father had it, but I think if they were in more harmonious tones, it's beautiful light on the faces. They're all three great expressions. And I think old-fashioned portraits would always have people in black turtlenecks to highlight the face and not get distracted with
By
things.
the clothes,
Yeah. So I think if they just had darker clothes.
I mean, your sense of handling the skin and lighting is just incredible.
It also might be the first time.
I wouldn't visit that necessarily as being the right. I kind of jumped to it, thought to myself, wow, I'm really looking inside the pores. I'm not sure if that's always helpful for the client. For me, I like looking at that, but I think of that kind of portrait as for them. So I wonder if they might like this skin as well. I guess, and how does one differentiate between the difference between this work? Does anyone have any other thoughts on that? Between those images and how these images became so much more driven with the environment and the character. Is there a reason why that happens in this work so dramatically?
What do you enjoy doing?
I like environmental portraiture and product. I don't know what I really want to get into.
I mean, those are the two strengths for sure.
They are.
I mean, really.
They are.
Yeah,
It's clear to see that.
I think it works out great. I think that, if I can just say, I think that of those first one, they all go together really well. I think that just the other ones are really gorgeous portraits. I think just like how kind of quiet and nice those two are, it's very reflective. That's a hard thing to get. I think they're just really, they're like understated in a great way. Like both these people could be looking at you. I think what's nice is just how it was handled. It's kind of understated. I think it's really nice. There's one thing I just wanted to mention, just because it's hard to do when you're photographing, to keep an eye on. This thing's where they look like they're looking at a couple walking a dog, and she's looking at the guy and he's looking at the girl. You know, see how their glance isn't actually in the same place? And it's just a funny thing, like you have to make sure they're actually, like pick a spot or something for him. Yeah.
But you know what's funny about this image? It defines the two different characters of his work. He has the reflective, which was in that first series of pictures, and he has the more kind of commercial portrait in her. It's almost like a duality in this image, like they're not mixing. You know, one's one kind of character, one's, I don't know, it just seems to change all of that.
Yeah, those work together well, I think.
I think I'm looking for more dynamic compositions. You know, that might be.
And the portrait work.
Yeah, and even in the still life, again, I'm not as sensitive to still life and you know, don't have the eye you have on that, but I look at it as a picture and an emotional reaction to the picture and the beauty and, you know, like, I don't, from an angle, from a lens, from a, I can't say photographic, the whole thing's photographic, but I'd like it a little more dynamic and not just the thing itself. I think that's what bothered me.
I think there is some truth to that.
Where's the mystery in it, and where's
you know, one could make the point about images like these two here specifically, that they have, they're very clean, as they would say in the client world, and therefore show the product well, but they may not have enough romance for certain clients. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you're right. I mean, if you wanted more action, you could carry this through to one other development idea. But certainly this could land in this area and be successful for certain clients, for sure.
Yeah, they're just a little still for my...
Yeah, no, I understand it. And again, in this kind of work, this shows a real...
elegance. It looks a lot better than my BlackBerry. Yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, it's a real sense of understanding the product and light it well.
It's beautifully lit. But maybe I'm always looking for that little extra...
Well, I think still life, it's funny about still life is you have this kind of formal aesthetic, which we've looked at a few times, which is somewhat in this nature here, right, which is not a real place. And then so it's a formal aesthetic of the bottle, which is not a realistic place that exists in normally. And then you have some kind of fantasy that's offered as an illustration.
So do I.
I totally love it.
Yeah. And I think that happens is also in the light bulb, in that same idea.
Yeah.
It's an illustration of it.
Can I just mention a teeny point? It's really a teeny tiny thing, but I was going to mention it. We see a lot of pictures of people at bars or bartenders at bars. What's great about this, apart from like the light's really nice, is that he's actually doing something.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's at the bar, he's doing something. Yeah, I mean, I think
it's one of the best portraits, actually. The person is really alive. And
yeah, he's very dynamic. He's really there. He's really looking at you. It's like it's great.
Action.
And it's the way he'd be doing it if you were sitting there and drinking. And he's an appealing guy too.
Yeah, it's really, and the light's really fresh and crisp and looks really nice. And it's really, that's one of those pictures that's deceptively seems really simple, but actually there's you got a lot of balls in there. It's a lot of things going on that are actually really successful.
And the background too is just enough.
Just enough, and it's not. He doesn't have stuff sticking out of his head, and it's, no electrical plugins or cash register. It just looks nice.
And I like the architecture a lot. I mean, because it has that puzzle-like thing. It's both two-dimensional, it's three-dimensional. You're looking through something modern to something that looks like some Disneyland castle. I don't know, where was that photograph? Hartford Capitol, yeah. I think we passed that the night of the tornado. I think it's totally beautifully done with all the colors. I don't know how you got the colors up there. How did you get?
Sunset.
Was it end of day?
Yeah, it was late. There's just some saturation in the sky.
And the other thing was just like a vision of the past. And I don't know, I thought it was really interesting.
It's
That one,
a fascinating look,
Sounds beautiful.
You just keep looking at it to figure it out, kind of thing.
Would you do any rebalancing on the very, very top, darkness-wise? Maybe just pick up the top panel or the bottom panel a little bit in brightness, just so it's a little bit, kind of keeps it a little bit default quite as dark as it's actually. Might be worth visiting. Looks quite nice.
What else was there? It was interesting, we see another version of this building. If you saw John's.
Yeah.
You also picked the right time of day, which is good.
I'm just going to make a point, because as you're looking at that, Jeff, I'm curious of the panel's discussion about this, is that this image is a wonderful image. Is this the image that's the bridge on where it needs to go to get these kind of images back into the place where these are happening more? Like this is really what these images need to aspire to be.
You know what I think the hard part is? I think that in this series of images, these are all pictures where we know exactly what they're supposed to look like. Like it's not a bad thing, but we know what those images are supposed to look like. And I think in the other ones, since you haven't shot them yet, you don't know what they're supposed to look like.
Right.
So they evolve on the spot, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? I think this one is in between. It is a bridge.
True, because this is what the other images that you just pointed out here, or what everybody does.
Yeah, and there's a tradition to them, and you know what they're supposed to look like, so you don't tend to shoot for the surprise.
I see.
In a way, do you know what I mean? You're hitting a target. You know what the target is,
right?
But you don't try to shoot for a different thing because you've already get a bullseye.
Right, and the point is that that's slightly more of an illustration of a concept. That he's at a bar. It's his environment. And the other ones are not really illustrations of a concept. They're just the people.
Yeah, they're nice. They're out there. But I think that those kick it up a notch for sure.
Yeah, they do.
And from a lighting standpoint, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Even though they're looking at the camera, they know they're being photographed. There's still
A lot going on.
Yep.
Yeah, very nice.
On that box, is that a real background? On the boxer?
Yeah, it's a real background.
And then the businessman, which we have
You brought in the fog machine?
details on the image. What
In
happens
blue?
with this image,
Even?
of course?
Yeah. That works. It works.
So that's just a tough shot to make great, unless you change it up a bit better. Then you can see it through.
Of course, the subject might be happy with it, but
Is that the kind of thing where, wow, your skin is incredible. It's crisp, beautiful. Beautiful skin.
well, we think you're off to a great start.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, thanks, Jeff.